What's up, Lemonheads? Welcome to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. I'm Crystal, and today in the virtual lemonade stand, I have such another ball of energy. So, if you love Crystal's energy, you're going to love my guest energy. If you are super turned off by energy or it stresses you out, you might want to press skip. But we're going to bring all the energy today. We're going to talk all about marketing. I can't wait for you to listen to how we take no nonsense marketing for service and in the trades with my friend Amber Gaige. Let's sip some lemonade. Ah, Amber, I'm so excited to be in the lemonade stand today with you. I think I met you at, was it a Service Titan event?
It was where you totally rocked your presentation in Austin, Texas. I loved it.
Yes.
I became a lemonade fan right then and there. Became a crystal addict, not crystal light, but crystal full on crystal addict right then and there. Girl, I was just jamming out to your intro music. That was awesome.
Oh, girl, it's a little pump up. Well, I will say this, Amber. I even told Lupita today when we were organizing and getting ready for today's call. I said, Amber is a ball of energy. And listen, I love to talk about, of course, marketing and home service industry and branding and strategy. And so I feel like we're going to kill all of that today. But I start almost every episode off where I have a guest with something along the lines of, Amber, why should anybody care what you have to say? Tell us a little bit about yourself, like why you have some authority in this space.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a plumber's kid, a PK kid that grew up on the back of my daddy's backhoe here in North Texas, and
Okay.
literally grew up from the school of hard knocks because I was too little to operate the equipment. Right. So it was like, well, put the
Hmm.
girl in the office and she can do some marketing and stuff. So I grew up with our companies in our home. I grew up with our businesses scaling to the point of having 217 employees in 4 different locations. I've seen it. I've done it. I've worn the t-shirt. I've delivered my fair share of water heaters. And throughout all that, what I realized was marketing for the trades is its own animal,
For
Crystal.
sure.
And you know that. You know
Oh
that better
yeah.
than I do, your background in HVAC, et cetera. And so I just feel like if you're going to pretend to market for the trades, you better have some passion for the people in this industry.
Absolutely. And like I'm hypersensitive to the contractor side because, like you, hashtag trade baby, like my grandfather, then my dad, now my brother, they've all worked. I remember the days when, my dad was working shift, I call it shift work, but like long hours, fixing air conditioning units and all gone during the summer. And I remember how much hard work it took. And then
Mhm.
I also have seen the business side of things, the financial side of things where you're trying to feed people well and do well and have reasonable pricing, and all of that just really can be very taxing. But I know that you are passionate, as am I, about contractors, about the home service industry, like you said. And I just think it's really important that we kind of, you have a little bit more exposure than, traveling through different industries um, than just home services, right? Like, don't you have a little bit of a journey yourself?
That's true. Yes, yes. So
Okay, okay.
after growing up in the home services and helping my family start HVAC, plumbing, pest control, and electrical companies here in Texas, I actually built and scaled my first marketing lead generation company in 5 years. And so when I started the company in 2013, it was my daddy calling me into his office going, "Hey, we're going to start a marketing company and you're going to run it and have a nice day." And it was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm doing all these other things, right?" And then by the time the company sold to private equity in 2018, we had scaled to over 5 million direct mail guidebooks across the country. And we had the top five home service agencies or top five home service categories all throughout the book. And we would independently vet them and then mail those guidebooks to homeowners. So I had quite the journey from going to entrepreneurship and then playing in private equity and having to scale national companies all across the US on behalf of franchisors and franchisees and our own brand, and really looking at lead generation from a national perspective as well as a homegrown grassroots perspective. And after all that, I became a mama and decided that while private equity is wonderful and it has a great purpose for the trades, I needed to be a mama first. And that meant going back to my entrepreneurial roots. And that's what I write about in my book is my system of marketing for the home services in the trades. And it just became an international bestseller.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
fantastic. Well, listen, I know you have this little I listen, I'm here for anything that helps me memorize a strategy, a thought, something like that. So I would love to hear about these 4 C's of effective marketing framework.
Yeah.
Kind of like I know you have different components. How do you apply that to the trades? Like I just want to listen to all of that. If you could just explain those 4 C's for me.
Yeah. Well, Crystal, I love a good system. I'm a
Yeah.
systems girl. And like most of our friends in the trades, you're operating your business in a system. So the same should be said for marketing. So the first C in the 4 C's of effective marketing is copy. You and I are both familiar with story branding. You see my plaque in the background. I'm a Donald Miller fan. Your copy has to be incredibly clear so that you don't sound like every other contractor on the block. So the first C is clear copy. How do you talk about your business so that people will listen? The second C is consistent branding. It's not enough just to have a sign on your truck anymore. It used to,
Oh, girl. Yeah.
but come on, I'm preaching to the choir, right? You got
That's
to
right.
have branding. You got to have a beautiful logo. You got to have that tagline. People need to be able to see you, know you, love you, and do business with you again and again. So branding is its own can of worms, making sure that you are consistently branding your company. The third C is customer demographic. Not everyone is your customer. And I'll say that again. Not everyone is your customer. So you have to know who your ideal customer is so that you can strategically align your marketing investment to that group of people that's most likely to do business with you. I like to tell my friends all the time, you don't go deer hunting with a shotgun,
That's
and
right. That's right.
you don't go catfish hunting in the ocean. That you got to make sure that your marketing dollars are specifically targeted to that group of people that's most likely to be your customer. And then the fourth C is channel management. You and I both know that we can be great technicians, but if we cannot get a repeatable system to serve our clients again and again and again through an effective sales channel, then we're not going to stay in business for very long.
Correct.
So I tell my clients, and what I talk about a lot in my book is marketing in and of itself is great, but if you follow these 4 C's consistently and you put your attention in each one of these C's, then your marketing scales rapidly.
Yeah. So I tell everybody, my key to people say, what is it? What are people doing right now? And I'm like, man, really all marketing works. I know that does not, people are like, oh, this didn't work for me and this didn't work for me. I get it. But what I also want to say is at the end of the day, consistency is what works. Let's choose a path, let's choose a strategy and go to town with that strategy. It's when we start diversifying and making things too thin. It's when we start separating from our brand. It's when we start having confusing messaging and hopping all over the place. Like, I mean, I'll have people that come to Lemon Seed and then I will talk to them and I'm like, well, I'm on my 5th digital vendor. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, eventually you have to step back and go, why can't I find a vendor partner that works for me? So is it a me problem or is it my expectations problem? Like, what is the issue? Because consistency will solve a lot of problems. But also on the flip side of that, good marketing is not a band-aid for bad operations. It is a matter of fact, it exacerbates it, right? It makes it much more it makes it more complex.
Mhm.
So when you have a low CSR booking rate and your team doesn't answer the phone and they don't know how to convert a lead, your technicians don't know how to flip things over to either sales or joining your membership club, all of those things, it's a recipe for disaster. We're going to spend a bunch of money to drive a bunch of leads that you can't close or book. And
Yeah.
so get back to basics. So your 4 C's there of effective marketing, if you deployed all of those, you're going to have a much more successful strategy in place to have an overall win. What
Right.
do you think makes it different to other marketing strategies?
Well, I think we look for the congruency in all of those areas. You really hit the nail on the head, Crystal. Whereas a lot of people will go to marketing agencies and say, well, I just want to do social media management, or I just want to do email marketing, et cetera. Like you said, it's all about the consistency. So when I meet with a client on a consulting basis, I am looking for those holes. I am trying to see, is the messaging broken? Is the branding inconsistent? Do we have a low booking rate on the CSR level? And then what I'm going to do is design a marketing program that works for them to get them elevated into the next level. So we're not just going to put people in a box and say, we're going to approach your SEO this one way. We're going to say, listen, I mean, I tell my clients all the time what not to do as much as I tell them what to do. So
Yeah,
we
amen.
literally look for those holes in that sales funnel and say, this is where we need to start. Maybe they've got C number one down pat and they love their copy and it's really, really clear and everybody knows them because they're a multi-generational company. That's great. But
Yep.
if we have another issue, then we got to go plug that hole. So I think that's what makes it different. We're looking at it holistically.
Yeah. And, a lot of times contractors want to bump and pick things. They run everything by their gut. Right,
Yes.
everything is driven by their gut. There's not a lot of data backing things up, or the data that they are using is very weak or
Yes.
very diluted, as I say. So, a lot of times we will launch something super cool and they're like, "Well, this didn't work." I'm like, "Well, we've mailed 2 weeks, so we need to give it time to work." Or I'm like, "You've been with this digital company 6 years and we are seeing 0 return." Like, we need to be asking some questions. And so
Yes.
there's a fine line there of like measuring what's successful and pivoting, but is just as important it is to ask what to do. It's very imperative to say, what shouldn't I be doing? Where shouldn't I be focusing? So I love that call out. That's a great thought, because again, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a minute. I
Go
was dealing
for it.
with a client yesterday and I was like, why do you even use us? Because every time we make a recommendation, you've already done it. You've already tried it. Didn't work.
Mm.
And so then we'll come back and say, well, if we change this and do this, well, I already tried, it didn't work. That's not my market. Okay. So you seem to already know what's going to happen. So I don't really think you need a marketing strategy. Like you seem to already know. And then I'll say, well, it appears to me that you already kind of know well, no, that's why I'm calling you. I'm like, sorry, I've given you like 15 different ideas. And according to you, you've all done them exactly the way I recommended at exactly the spend I recommended. And you have no idea why things don't work.
I love you, Crystal. I love you. I
Yeah, a
mean,
lot of times, like, contractors are in their own way, dude. I'm like, "Man, listen, you have got to get out of your way." So if you are good at marketing, and there are contractors that
oh,
are great at marketing, okay? Um,
yes,
you may not need a strategy company, do you, right? Like,
absolutely.
own what you're good at and go for it. But most contractors are really good owners, operators, entrepreneurs, contractors, technicians, whatever. And marketing is not their strong point, or they are choosing to focus a lot in a different area. Well, then
Yes.
you need to let marketers do their job. Let your web company do their job and stop micromanaging. Because, girl, I mean, I can get on my little
Girl, I love it. I'm gonna hop up on
kind
that
of
lemon flavored soapbox with you because I'm
well,
picking up
it
listening.
also does kind of go into like, common misconceptions, that contractors really, I'm going to say there's a couple things. Number one, I think we get easily distracted. I think we get easily duped. And I
Mhm.
think we have FOMO, right? So distraction comes by, you feel like, oh, this new thing is the answer to all your problems, right? And the other side of it is duped is you are just suckered in by someone's sales pitch and there's not a lot of data backing it up.
Mm,
And then the other side would be just you saw a shiny object and it appeared like I should do that. Let
mhm.
me jump on that bandwagon. Like so and so said it would work for them. So I must need to do it for myself, even though I'm in a totally different market, totally different size, sell totally different products. It's going to be the same. So
Yep.
what do you think? Like, tell me a little bit about the misconceptions that you're seeing.
Girl, you just called out the subtitle of my book. It says "Stop Being Duped by
Ah,
Ineffective Marketing." That's
I promise I
exactly.
didn't do that on purpose, but that worked out
I'll
well
send you
for
a text
us.
later.
Yeah.
Hug, hug, wink, wink, right? No, I think
Yeah.
it's exactly right. I think that, so often people come to a marketing company thinking there is a silver bullet of marketing, and it's just
Mhm.
not true. When we go back and we look at, and here's the number one thing, I think I can summarize it this way, Crystal. The number one thing is marketing should not inform the operational decisions of the business. The business is on a track to do certain lines of service and provide certain products. So, marketing needs to be informed by the operational goals of the business. When you start trying to put marketing up on a little silver platter and say, we're going to market your company this way, but you are not taking into account the swim lanes of that business operationally, there is immediately this disconnect between the marketing and the operations. And we don't need to feed that. That's always going to exist anyway. You're going to have pushback between accounting and marketing, or operations and accounting. And the bottom line is we all have to row together. So, in my opinion, a client needs to come to a marketer with certain operational goals in mind to say, I want to accomplish these things. I'm looking for X number of more jobs for water heaters or system replacements or pest control clients, whatever it is. And then it's the marketer's job to support those operational goals by putting together a plan that supports those goals.
Absolutely. So here's what happens, right? You're going to live the same life I live. People go, I just need more leads. Okay. We all do, sir.
Yeah.
Ma'am, we all do. So let's talk about our real overall goals. So what's your revenue goals? What are your average ticket goals? So there's three ways that companies make more money, right? Number one is going to be operational efficiencies.
Yes.
Making sure that you are operating at top of the line efficiencies.
Yep.
Number two is going to be being priced correctly and fairly based off of your vendors that you're working with. So just by taking a simple small price increase helps you get over hurdles from last year, right? And last but certainly not least for me and Amber is marketing. But marketing can't be the lone ranger.
Right.
Right. We can't be the only man out there like hustling up some leads. There's got to be, once those leads come in, are you as the operator making the very most of every single lead? And we need a strategy that supports much deeper. If your only strategy is bring in leads, that's a very shallow way to do business. We need a lot more understanding. So what are we doing to build brand awareness? What are we doing to have a call to action play that is effective and our team understands and we can actually sell? And then last but not least, once we get those people in our database, in my claws, as I say, in my little treasure box, how do I keep them? Right? How do I keep them engaged with my brand? And those things are super important to the overall success of a company's just long-term strategy. Strategy is a word that people love to throw around, but no one actually likes to execute or implement.
So true.
When they get pissed off, like, well, I mean, I know I said I was going to do that, but I'm really not. I'm like, so basically, you just want to get in a dogfight at the bottom of the barrel for everybody that's searching for the lead right this moment and do no long-term work, right? So you're just wanting to run sprints, never a marathon.
Right.
And I get it, but that marathon strategy is what you look back 5 years and go, dang, I'm glad I started that. Like my brand is kicking butt. And I can show you companies like I will look, new companies will say, man, my digital is just not working. No one knows who you are, sir. Your digital is not working very well. Your PPC, paid ads of any sort, Google local services, whatever. It's not working as well because people don't know who you are. You have to focus on educating people about who you are and exposing people to you before you just launch these, wild accusations that things, are not working.
Right.
Why do you think so many business owners find marketing so confusing? Like, is there some ways that you can simplify things like in your words? They hear my words all the time, Amber, but like, what are some things that maybe they might could hear from you about ways they can simplify marketing or understand it better?
Well, I think that marketing in and of itself tends to be overwhelming and confusing, especially for a busy business operator who's wearing all the hats in their organization. You have to have the ability to step back, take a pause, and have a think day if you're going to put all these different puzzle pieces together. And as a whole, I think we've done a really poor job as marketing leaders to present people with interconnected strategies and the analysis to back up why these strategies work. They get hit all the time with just do a Google ad, just do a Facebook post, just do, a yellow page ad, hearkening back to my days, showing my age a little bit. And so they automatically assume that if I do this or that, this sprinkling without any connection or a plan, that my marketing is going to work. And I think that's why marketing is so overwhelming and confusing. There's so many options and very few people talk about a plan as a whole. Again, tying it back to that operational goal and whatever that may be. I agree with what you said that it can sometimes be premature to run a paid ad if you don't have local brand awareness. You see it all the time in politics. Grassroots works. Well, same thing if you've got a young brand. You need to hit the pavement. You need to clover leaf some door hangers. You need to
That's
get those
right.
trucks on the road, put it in the elementary school parking lot. You need to get that brand awareness going in that local area before you start pouring money at the top of the funnel, hoping that somebody's going to click on your ad, which does not guarantee a sale. So I think to make marketing easy, you need to step back and work with someone to give you a plan, and someone who's going to be transparent enough to show you the data. I'm a big analytics and data nerd. I want to see the clicks. I want to see the data. I want to be able to point my clients to a dashboard to say, look, this is what happened when we employed this or that. But so oftentimes people just look for that silver bullet that we talked about earlier. And it's just
Yeah,
not.
it's branding is work, right? Branding is work. So, my family owns a pest control company right now. We launched a mascot, and like right now, we've been in business on, well, we bought an existing company. So let's say we're going on 10 or 11 months right now.
Mhm.
And, it's a lot of pre work where you're like, is any of this mattering at all? But
Mhm.
like even tonight, we're taking Johnny, the mascot, and he's going to go be at a realtor function,
There you
and
go.
he's going to be out there handling out fly swatters,
I love it.
and so it's a part of we're not hardly going to walk away probably with a bunch of people like, I can't wait, like, give me your services right now,
Right.
because we know that we're investing right now in solidifying and thickening our brand presence, our brand footprint. So every time we make those engaging pieces where we shake hands, kiss babies, and all those good things, we are slowly but surely solidifying that brand presence in the market. And eventually, before we know it, we're like, dang, we are who everybody knows.
That's
And
right.
I look at markets. Sometimes I'll look at a new company and I'll be like, man, there's nobody doing anything in your market. Let's get an icon or a mascot or something cool, and let's hit the streets.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, that gorilla, that boots on the ground style um marketing is really where a lot of people miss the boat. Number one, because they're lazy. Number two, they don't know how. Or number three, they're just not willing to put the resources towards it.
So
And I'm like, I love those markets because I wish I could just get a client in there and just plow over the top of those.
100.
Because yeah, because everybody else is just, what they've done. Well, I got a website, I got paid ads. I'm Gucci, right? Like I'm good. And I'm like, man, you're good for right now, but I will gain on you quickly, and then I will pass you up, and you'll have a hard time catching up because
Yep.
I might turtle in the hair. What is it? No,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Slow and steady, I'm gonna win the race.
Yep.
And it's just how I encourage contractors, like, don't be distracted. Strategy is key. Don't be distracted. Just, keep your eye on the prize and just keep working, and you're gonna really walk away with something. So,
100%. Yep.
so what are some ways that you think even like branding can reflect their like unique selling values, their unique selling positions? How do you think service-based companies can really create a brand that resonates with their customers, that reflects the values and things like that, especially in those super busy markets? Like again, they hear this from me, but I'd love to get a different take on it. Oh, I'm in a super competitive market. Well, what advice do you give?
Yeah. I tell my clients that you never stop talking about solving your customers' problems. That your customers have an invisible sign around their neck that says, I'm the most important person in the room. So when your customers are absolutely oversaturated with marketing messages from your competitors in a busy market, the best thing you can do to be that laser focus is to lead with how you solve that customer's problem. When I do speaking engagements around the country, I will always show video commercials that reflect problems being solved for a certain industry. And at the end of those problems being solved is when that brand tagline comes in. So never fighting for attention in your customer's brain with your brand, but bringing in that logo, that hero, that character as the problem solver for your customers. Because once you prove to a customer that you can solve their problem, whether it's emotional, tangible, or philosophical, then they're going to shut up and pay attention to you because you haven't competed with them for attention. You haven't said, "Hey, I'm this brand and I'm so great." You've said, "Hey, I'm this brand and I see you, I affirm you, and I can help you." And isn't that what everybody wants on a subconscious level?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I say this every day. I get almost tired of saying it, but when you people want to do business with people that they like, know, and adore.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why mascots, people are like, I hate mascots. Okay, good. Well, move out of the way because let me just just move past you. Right. So it's like mascots, they're hokey and corny. They definitely can be. They can be underutilized, they can be overutilized. But one thing they really do is remove this barrier between you and your market to where it's very approachable and people just naturally it's like a magnet, they're just drawn to it, and then they want to take pictures with it, and not like a janky costume, right? Like not a costume. We're not talking about anything like that. What I'm talking about is legitimately you have invested in a well-made mascot or symbol. So it may be a condenser, a lightning bolt, whatever. It doesn't have to be a character per se, but something, y'all, people are so, let's talk about the world right now, right? So I'm a Christian, and right now, like I know that the world is very heavy, right?
Mhm.
Like everybody's very worried. We're worried about the economy. We're in the middle of getting close to or right after an election.
Mhm.
There's just so much turmoil, but people are hungry for like solid, healthy interactions that
Mhm.
don't involve you shoving. I mean, we're not on the streets of Vegas selling stripper cards, right? Like just be fun and be kind and build relationships with people that are not super aggressive and always trying to sell something. And it is the sweeter side of life. And so
Yes.
what happens is you just start building and people start associating those good feelings and those emotions with your brand, and that is money. That is golden. That is long building a company for long-term success.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, 100%. When we built our brand for our family's pest control company, we built it on three characters, and one of them was based on my dad because he's tall and blonde and wears a cowboy hat. And so
Oh,
we had this cowboy, right? And then we had Splat, and Splat is the bug, and the bug is behind the jail bars all the time.
oh yeah.
All of the service trucks that are going out across the DFW market, on the back of that truck, there are jail bars, and Splat is looking between those jail bars, and he's just wanting to get out. And kids point to these trucks all the time, like, look, mommy, they captured the bug. They got Splat. And it's like, yeah, because we're a friendly brand. We're telling people that we're going to lasso their pests, we're going to protect their home with that Southern hospitality. And I mean, Crystal, people love a good brand. People want to laugh.
Absolutely.
People want to
Absolutely.
trust. People want to believe in a character. It's why we watch TV. I mean, come on. It's what we do.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was thinking about this too. When you think back to your childhood, so like right now, I love TikTok and I'm watching all these things, and somehow I've gotten onto vintage TikTok, right?
Oh,
But one of the things that really caught my attention is there's a guy, I can't even tell you his name. That's unfortunate, but he's like, if you're watching TV on a Friday night in 1986, you're watching this. And what it was, you remember, and I don't know how old you are, it doesn't matter, but do you remember when TV shows used to have introductory music?
oh yeah. Intro
Okay,
music.
so like yeah, intro music. They would come on, they would show the characters and their names and all that.
Yeah.
So it is like such a warm feeling to me. Like I'm like, oh, Family Matters or Step by Step or Full
Oh, me
House or
too. Anyhow.
Cheers. Yes, all of those things. And like my cousin's name is Alexis, and so I'm Crystal and Alexis, as if it's dynasty. And so
Oh,
a lot of those things are a very popular place that those just bring up such good feelings for people. And so that's what mascots are designed to do is you want to recognize Care Bears or Popples or He-Man or She-Ra or whomever was like really those that worked then. What makes you think it won't work now?
yeah.
And again, it's not always about having a mascot. It's just about having an identity that people can connect to for sure.
Yes. Building that trust with an identity, because that becomes the identity of your brand. Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you had a company that was just starting out, Amber, what are some essential elements that maybe they should focus on for that brand identity? Just maybe two or three, like focus on this.
Well, number one, read my book.
Yes, read
Yeah.
the book, friends. Read the book. Yes.
Read the book. It's a really easy read. You can read it over a weekend. It's a pocket guidebook for you to get the 411 on the basics of marketing for your company. So there you go. So read the book. Number two is develop your brand. And then number three is get a plan. Have a set goal in mind with your metrics, and then develop a marketing plan around that. Three good tips for you.
That's fantastic. And I agree with all of that. Like those are 3 easy ways to just get yourself started and not be so scared, of everything going on. So, guys, as you can see, lots of branding energy in this conversation. I know I push branding really, really hard. I know that Amber does the same thing because we've seen it with our own two eyes, and both of us have actually lived it, right? So when you live it, it changes the game, right? It changes the game of how you feel about things. So again, today's conversation I feel like has highlighted the value of clarity, consistency, and branding in your marketing for applying those 4 C's. Amber, reiterate those 4 C's real quick.
Clear copy, consistent branding, customer demographic, channel management. 4 C's.
Absolutely. So there are countless ways to simplify and amplify those marketing for your service company. More than anything, just start applying these 4 C's. So I challenge you right now, apply just one of those 4 C's to your business this week. See how it impacts your growth and customer engagement. Amber, any final thoughts?
I have just loved being in the yellow chair. I appreciate what you do, and just shout out to my home service people. Love y'all with
Yeah.
all my heart. Thanks for having me, Crystal.
And where can they get your book?
Far Beyond Marketing Guidebook.com, or available on Amazon.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. If you enjoyed this episode and you are just super jazzed and pumped up right now, we were your good dose of energy today. Consider writing a review, maybe giving me a follow on social media. But guys, thanks so much for sipping some lemonade with us. We will see you next time.